Neptune 101. Mrs. Dream and Cousin Data. A Voyage to Dreamworld. Once upon a time, there were two currents of flow. Their names were Brother Stream and Cousin Data. Their roles were to quietly guide the dreams of humankind. The animal kingdom and the plant kingdom also agreed to assist. One day, a virus learned to mimic the same rhythm of Cousin Data, resulting in a refraction of truth and moving away from their inner vision and ultimately forgetting how to dream. Now, what do I mean by that? That short story was an introduction into how I want to lead Neptune. Oftentimes, Neptune is seen as like foggy or, doesn't really know what's going on. And so you're going to feel a bit hazy. And I want to challenge that field of thought. I think with foundational astrology, I think it's very important to understand that respect it in its foundational sense, but look at your life personally in correlation with your natal chart to see what is actually happening. And from my knowledge and understanding and experience, Neptune is anything but foggy. In fact, when we think of Neptune, we think of Poseidon in Greek mythology. We think of the sea, or we think of the depths. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So we think of the depths of the sea in a more, what lies beneath? Apparently, nobody knows what's deep down under. There are creatures that we've never seen before. And the ones that we have seen, they look pretty strange, I have to say. And I say that to say that Neptune is much deeper than just a fogginess. It's intense, it's deep, it's concrete. And so let's start with Neptune as the planet, astronomically. Now, there were a few things about Neptune that I found quite nice to explore, but I focused specifically on how Neptune is perceived. It has a wonderful blue color, which is very astral. It's very it's very interesting that it's that color. And Neptune has 5 rings, or 5 main rings. Let's be clear about that. Their names are liberty, equality, fraternity, courage, Adams. Now, each of these rings is very interesting. They all have a story to tell. They're all come from this idea of collectiveness. The fact that we have liberty and equality, again, will dissolve this idea of Neptune just being this foggy part of the chart, because it just isn't. And, it's interesting because maybe it's seen like that, or kind of like offhanded in this way, because there is this Saturnian opposite. And I guess, and there's more revel in Saturn, or focus on Saturn, or even Pluto, as opposed to Neptune. And I always wondered why that was the case. But Neptune is more like, if we think of a ball of paint and you stretch it across a piece of paper with water, you're going to have a gradient of sorts, right? You're going to go from a deep blue, then you're going to go lighter and lighter to possibly clear. And that is the gradient of where we will have, let's say, Hades, Neptune, Venus, and Saturn. And so they work together. They're not this kind of divided element. If we think of Neptune as the sea, and we look at the horizon of the sea, there is almost like the air is another alchemical space of water, but just in its gassy sense. And have a look at it. Have a look at your chart. See where Neptune is, because it will give you an understanding of how deep you can go, how intuitive you are in that area. You can also, Neptune is, I wouldn't even say flighty, but it's not easy to control because it can be unpredictable, just like the seas are unpredictable. But with the untrained eye, perhaps maybe it's seen that way. So we can see with Neptune's rings alone, and I thought that that was one of the nicer things to pull out, is that it holds something of a togetherness and strength. And I feel like the 12th house, Neptune, Pisces, would need to be looked in that way to really get the strength, because Neptune ultimately is about the internal. It's the dreamscape, it's the astral, it's your prayers, it's your meditation. It doesn't really deal with the affairs of Saturn and Venus. It kind of says, oh, you're here. Oh, okay. Okay, if you're here then, well, okay, this is my part that I've got to do my side now. And so once you've reached or ascended to that area or worked through that area of your chart, when it comes to Neptune, this is what, like I said before, it gets really fun. There was something I was reading. It was about African secret societies, right? And it was talking about the initiation and what has to take place in order to do so. And one thing that struck out to me was that, one, they wasn't able to mix in with other people, and that they must, because this person was being initiated to a higher rank, right? And I saw this in, if you're going to look at it from a Neptunian perspective, this is about ascending. Neptune, you can't get to Neptune without achieving the goals of Jupiter and Saturn. So Neptune, so with this story, or with what I've read, was the thing that pointed out to me is, like, in this purification, I think it was about maybe 2 or 3 months that they had to do this for. They couldn't stay in their homes, and they had to stay with somebody or stay with a friend, but they had to stay like in the guest house or something, right? They couldn't be around anyone. And not just anyone, they also specifically couldn't be, their feet couldn't be under the canopy of a tree. And so I explored this further. I was like, what? Why? What is it? What's wrong with the tree? And there's nothing wrong with the tree. It's just there is this understanding that trees, nature, everything has intelligence. And again, their field or their magnetism, this person cannot be disturbed by anything in that time. And so this isolation, in a way, right, also extended to, hey, and also, by the way, if you want to go to your friend's house, you can step at you can't be on the eaves of the structure of the building. So they said you can kind of stand out, but you can't come in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's given sinners once more time. And I said, okay, that's fascinating. So there's this idea of a vessel, because the tree can be a vessel. The house also can be a vessel of framework. But the feet, something about the feet, there's like the feet cannot be here. And the feet is represented by Pisces, right? So, and that's the soul of the feet, right? And so I found that fascinating. And I say that to say that Neptune, again, has very like deep aspects to it. And I feel like when we start to see or start to practice maybe meditation more, or even things like yoga, right? You start to dampen the ego. You start to find yourself in a space where you're not being so Saturnian, being so Venusian, like, or Martian. Neptune is not any of these things. Neptune is, oh, you've arrived. Okay, cool. You know, okay, the pots and pans are here. Make yourself home. Like, you've made it. Now, like I said in my Pluto 101 video, it could allude to this idea that everything is pushing you away from Neptune to the point that is called foggy and, you know, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's a bit dizzy, you know? Even in this astrological sense, right? And I think it's to deconstruct that and reconstruct it in your own perspective. Look at your house. What story have you lived so far? And how is that being played in the house where Neptune is? And then you can start decoding it yourself. I think it's very good to listen to myself and other people, but ultimately the journey of Neptune, or the journey of your chart, is going to be something personal, and it's not going to always form to the very strict fundamentals that astrology is given. And this is why, even I say in my 101 video, astrology 101 video, hey, like, this is about ascending the chart. It's not obsessing over it. It's about feeling the chart. There has two layers. There is this very kind of stagnant layer, this inanimate, and then you have the most spiritual layer, which is what I'm more about. So, you know, I'm a whole signs chart babe. Like, I do like Vedic astrology. But, you know, if you have other types that you want to assign to, that is, like, as long as you say to yourself, is that going towards my true path, or my soul's journey, or my soul's, or the promptings of my soul? Is it doing that? Okay, check. Nothing else matters. It doesn't matter. And I think in this world of, like, we've been trained to be divisive in everything. Divisive in discourse, divisive in whatever, like, just, and it's about always trying to remind yourself, or to revise or deconstruct the way in which we interact with one another and interact with ourselves, because that is ultimately a deconstruction of ego and allowing you to ascend into this Neptunian energy. So I say that to say, I alluded Neptune in a more visual way. What's all this? What am I doing here? And I was thinking of the song. I was thinking of the song Ludacris called Hose. And The song is about, he's very proud of his hose, okay? Stick with me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to land, okay? Give me a second. And he's got them in different area codes. And ultimately, I was like, he seems very chuffed by this, okay? He's but what's really happening with this understanding of hose? Because when I think of hose, I think of a water hose. I think of a reservoir that distributes water to water the garden or whatever, right? And that's what I think of. Now, if this is being referred in a Venusian sense, that we are an embodiment, and if you look at my Venus 101 video, do go into that, and the Mars 101 video, it does talk about how we balance the masculine and feminine, because Mars and Venus do need to create harmony, whether you like it or not, ladies and gentlemen. And that's within the masculine and feminine within yourself, the masculine and feminine outside of yourself. And this idea of there's the masculine, or this Martian sense of I've got hose in different area codes, or I've got reservoirs that can fill me up in every aspect. I've got fresh water, I've got salty water, I've got mineral water. I've got them in all different codes. And I'm just going to grow my garden all by myself and grow them. And that's one way of looking at it. Or you could be looking at it as a way of, well, I've got all these hose, or all these reservoirs, on the basis that I don't want to do the work myself. I don't want to fill myself up, and I just want to take from all these other people who don't really understand that their reservoir is really, really gold dust, and it's actually filling me up. So I was like, the question, are we all hoes? But we're not, I think the alchemy of hose is more exploring those who are freely giving up their reservoir of water. And I don't know if there's the UK hose water ban, but it was a thing, okay, couple of years back. And that's the thing about reservoirs, because again, very Neptunian. Neptune's stream, it goes through streams. It's the stream of consciousness. It's the stream of the astral, right? And if we see the hose as like more of the phallic symbol, and the water existing through the stream to get to replenish or give information and nourishment to the earth, for things to germinate and grow, then we have to think about who this reservoir is being given to. And back to the water ban. So they said, hey guys, yeah, you can't be out here just putting your hose everywhere. Because we're running out of water. We've got a water situation going on, okay? Everyone needs to understand. Don't take liberties. And also understanding that unlike the toilet or the bathroom or the kitchen sink, these water drainage is recycled much easier. There's more of it. So that's more, I would say it's more Venusian, right? But Neptune, this is, once it embeds itself into something, it manifests and grows into something else. And so Neptune is that aha moment. There is that, invention, creation. It is these things. And so much like when you are watering your flower bed, it doesn't, any kind of excess water, there's not much. You can't really do much with the excess. You know what I mean? So they're like, hey guys, stop, don't use it, don't abuse it, And I just found I found that analogy quite fun, ladies and gentlemen. 516 413. And and that would go on to talk about the music industry, but we'll put a little pin on that later. Also, when I was thinking about hose, I guess in the feminine and masculine sense, the hose reminds me of the intestine or the large intestine. And we can allude to swamping or swelling of soil to attribute to contamination, right? It starts to get smelly, you start to get little microorganisms that, it starts to get a bit weird, right? That kind of like destroy the roots, all this kind of stuff. And it just reminded me of the internal aspect, which again is probably more Neptunian than anything, that about what you bring in and these living organisms inside of you, right? You whether it's the tapeworm parasite, the whipworm, any of the worms, right? They exist in a space where the environment is hostile enough to thrive. And this is not a health lesson, ladies and gentlemen. This is more of an analogy of how Neptune can be contaminated. I think Neptune had a bit of contamination when we talk about some aspects of the music industry. And we're seeing a lot of that playing out, a lot of things coming to light, a lot of what's that smell? Like it's you can't miss it. And much like with contaminated soil, there's not much you can do with that. You kind of got to just get rid of it, Or maybe there is. Maybe there's a different way to kind of replenish contaminated soil, but I don't know. But yeah, so even when we see it in that way, we are in the spooky season. And this time is when the veil is thinnest, according to like occultic knowledge. And what does that mean? Well, when the veil is thinnest, does it mean I'm going to see more ghosts? What's going on there? And I kind of alluded to more of the Neptunian sense, even though it's quite Pluto, to be fair. But like, it's water, right? If your body, I think Chinese medicine, they have this understanding of your body can be wet or it could be dry. And when you have certain environments in the body, you have to kind of recalibrate it so that it's kind of got a good balance. And that's how I see when I think of Neptune, based on how you exist at that current time, based on how your mindset, whether you've been meditating, all these things, based on how strong these parasitic energies, whether they're people, whether they're actual parasites within, it's looking at it from that perspective. And when the veil thins, I found it quite ironic when I noticed the pattern between, okay, so we got Halloween, and Halloween, you've got sweets. Who likes sweets? Who likes sweets? These guys. These guys love sweets. I don't know what sign they will come under. Maybe Venus in its shadow side. And ultimately, they're at their weakest, these things, right? This is more like bush lady folklore understanding, okay? This is not a health lesson. And this is when they are the weakest. So if they're at the weakest, what do we want to introduce? Tons of sugar, just unprovoked. Let's just make Halloween about lots of sweets, okay? Knocking on the door. Hey, can you feed my parasites? Please. Oh yeah, come on. And so where Neptune comes in, which will be the flow of the intestine, we want to be able to say, what can we put in that flow? Are we going to put fizzy drinks? No, we're going to put herbs, because herbs is a promise to humankind to make sure that while we're on this road called life, they said, no, we're going to look out for them. If they know, then they will know. And we'll mix it in with a bit of Neptune, and they will drink it, and we will do what we need to do. We will unlock our data, our DNA, and we will help this human being. Because everything the body is water-based, right? And so I say that because that is Neptune. It's not just the foggy, it can be alchemized. Sometimes they see Neptune as alcohol. That's brilliant, right? Any kind of liquid that's been alchemized for it is Neptune. Neptune is a force. Neptune is the unknown. And once you get there, they're like, oh, you made it. Okay, cool. Come sit down. Let's talk. You want to talk? You don't want to talk? Okay, fine. And so we have this, how do I say? This is an evergreen video, but because we are in the month of October, is I guess just having some thought about that and how that fogs, you know what could be foggy if we're talking about fogginess when it comes to Neptune. It will be foggy because you could feel inclined to, when you are welled up full of emotion, you do feel like you want to maybe go into habits that probably go against your spiritual self, or it will limit you from opening aspects of your subconscious. Again, a lot of things are pulling you away from that, right? Hey, virtual reality. Oh, you don't, it's cool, but it's our cousin. It's our cousin data. And so the more we start pulling in and drawing into ourselves, and I wrote this thing, I said, Neptune is embodiment. Saturn is external. And the thing about embodiment, it's seldom celebrated. No one's like, oh yeah, you really filled yourself up. I can, because you can't see it. It's not like some new shoes or clothes. Like, you cannot see when you are filled up within, in terms of understanding your ego and harnessing it to know when there's times to react, when there's times not to react, when there's times to be chill, when there's times not to be chill. That embodiment, nobody celebrates that. You can celebrate it. That filling up is the unknown. And again, maybe that's why they said, oh yeah, Neptune is that foggy planet. Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the unknown. But as long as you know, this is where the ego doesn't exist. It's like, you know that you are doing the work to open and access Neptune, you will get it. But like I said, to access Neptune, you have to take the rules of Jupiter and Saturn and use all the gifts that they're giving you, whether that's Venus or your South Node or whatever. To be a reservoir in pure understanding that you don't need anything. And I feel that is more about, Neptune is not about physical gains. It's not about money. It's about how have you gained your ascension? Not just saying, yeah, I'm spiritual. Yeah, I really got astrology down and I'm really, no. How are you feeling? Did you check in with yourself? How are you feeling? And so where it comes to this idea of Neptune, hopefully by now, hopefully you can, I've given Neptune justice, hopefully, right? So let's move on. Now, the music industry. I don't know. When I wrote the new music industry, I was thinking of. I was actually wanting to talk about MC Hammer because I was looking up on a video about how he was navigating the world, and not necessarily like he's a one-hit wonder, but more like he was so giving, and he lost a lot of his money because he was just like, I've made it, and like everybody that I know that has cared for me or I have a very close feeling towards, like I don't want to like succeed and then everybody else, I'm leaving everyone behind. And so he started a business, he gave everyone jobs, and I think he even started a tech company. And even when I was listening to this, I was like, let me look at this man's chart real quick. Because it's giving Neptune, it's giving Pisces. And he did have Neptune in his 5th house, I believe. But I did 5th house for the last other ones. I didn't want to do 5th house again. So I was like, who else? So I was, doing more research. And I came up with Pharrell Williams. And Pharrell, oh, he did not disappoint. I don't look at people's chart and think, oh, their chart is so nice. Like, Pharrell Williams, his chart is chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. It's beautiful. He's given us so much music. He's given us so much joy. That song, Happy, 10 out of 10. It was given at the most potent time in our lives. And it moves you. Even I could play that now and I could just still feel the energy of it. His voice. His Mercury is in Pisces in the 3rd house. He's supposed to speak in a way that touches your heart. He's supposed to feel like a family, He's supposed to feel like connected to you. And I've always said Pisces make very good script writers, very good songwriters. Like they just tap in. And I was looking on TikTok the other day, and I was seeing Pharrell Williams with Justin Timberlake in their early days, and they were thinking of the song. And he was just the way he was singing. He wasn't saying words. He was just making sounds. And I said, he calling on Neptune. And they're working it out. They're working out the sounds and they're getting it. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course. So his sun is in Aries, which is, I guess, and his Venus is in Aries. His North Node is in Capricorn and his South is in Cancer. And that, some people work through their chart, and he's definitely doing it. He's definitely doing the things. I would always say Aries in general, they're kind of like, you never really hear much about Aries, right? They could be successful, like kind of partially in the limelight, right? And they can just, they can maneuver and get around. And yeah, I see Pharrell as like this. But let's look at his Neptune. His Neptune is in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, even mythologically, he's the favorite, right? He's the one that everybody loves. They can understand him, that he's like a bridge towards, not so much like even Aquarius, right? But Sagittarius is the popular person. They can talk your ears off, but you will listen, and they will entertain you because they're entertaining, because they know so much and they've gone through so much. And for his Neptune to be in Sagittarius, that would mean that he really impacts the people that he's around. It's a long-lasting feeling. And whether that can be transposed into any kind of religious insights that he may have, I feel if I remember correctly, he was brought up in the church. I think his cousin is Timberland, which is they're both very amazing composers. And so there's definitely something going on in their bloodline. But yeah, so, and the need to help others or assist in helping others. And I just feel like, and I believe he had a music group called the Neptunes as well, along with NERD and then his own work or whatever. And all his voice even sounds watery. He sounds like if he was a water god. I said, say less. I thought so. You do look a bit like, you're not from here. And yeah, he's got that otherworldliness, but yeah, he was brought here. His North Node is saying, look, you're supposed to hard work. You're supposed to be in your energy, or the kind of Saturnian energy of the material, but being able to give to others in that state, and it's almost like it's necessary to be this way. You cannot be any other way. And so it would be more inherent for him to be like, oh, I just want to chill at home. But how does he balance the two? Maybe he has a studio in his home so he can create. Maybe he can still use that Capricorn energy to fulfill his purpose and the things that he wants to do, especially with this Mercury in Pisces. So he's doing the things, chart is amazing. And it's almost blessed. I have to say, Saturn in the 6th house. Oh man. But with Gemini, so even though at first instance you're like, oh, wow, that's a bit intense, but I like it there. And I think where he is, and how we see him now, I think recently he did something with the Vatican. No one's done that before. So you can see God and spirituality is something that he's very, very connected to. And so that's how Neptune can play out. Neptune can intensify whatever house it's in. But let's talk about Neptune, because right now, and I think it's not moving until maybe early April 2026, Saturn's gone into Pisces. And I did a little drawing of how this happens. Now, I'm gonna flip flop. But Neptune is exalted in Cancer. Its detriment is in Virgo because it's the opposite sign. It's kind of hey, where it's like a foreign land. Where am I? What's going on here? It may have some crossovers or some gradients of understanding, but ultimately it can, in its fundamental sense of astrology, it is seen as uncomfortable. And then its fall is in Capricorn, right? And that would make sense because they're so different. It's just, they are very different. And so I kind of saw it as where's my pen? A prison of sorts, right? So, or say the prison is the house, right? So if Saturn has transited into Pisces, or the constellation of Pisces, Pisces runs that house. So it means that Saturn is the one that gets the plunge. It's not its environment, it's uncomfortable. But the opposite way round, should Neptune be in the house of any kind of Saturn or Capricorn placements, it's going to be in the controls of Saturn. So yeah, with Pisces, with Saturn going into Pisces, a few things are happening. A few things are being whirled to the surface, and Saturn becomes softer. Like, this doesn't have any choice. It just becomes softer, with Venus being on the surface of the sea. Like, is you have no choice. And so when it dissolves Saturn in this way, we scrape back and we get a really nice element of Saturn. And so I feel that comes out in a way where this kind of Neptune vibe, I guess, comes out in a very revealing way, an intense way. There's a lot of stuff that has happened since Saturn has gone into Pisces. It's intense. But at the same time, when astrologers or people say, oh yeah, this is happening and it's really intense or whatever, even me, it's about owning what's happening for you personally, because it might not be the case for you. You might very well notice things, but you don't allow it to bother you. And that is the ultimate goal. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is why I say, even with transits and this kind of stuff, like, it doesn't matter. How are you reacting to it? If you are learning from it and observing it, as opposed to making it consume you, that's it. Just, you have to scrape it back to basics. That's it. That's all it is. And so, so there's that. And even the idea of the music industry alone, with the things that have been exposed in the music industry, this is Neptune, or Saturn in Pisces, or Saturn in Pisces now. Before maybe pattern, maybe when Pisces was in Saturn or Capricorn, or Neptune in Capricorn, sorry, that there is this chokehold, right? But now it's being released. There's the opposite happening. And that can be definitely felt. I think even from like, maybe even, from mid-2024, the music industry has definitely been breaking down. And this is why, again, Neptune it's not a play for. Whenever Neptune comes up, you say, okay, what can we be prepared for? And so let's continue. Again, if you see anything that you want to discuss in the comments, let me know. Come with me and what's that song? And you'll be in a world of pure imagination. La-di-da, la-di-da. Imagination is Neptune. So what's going on here? What are we doing? So I did this as a way to understand cousin data and its virus, and how we look at the stream of consciousness or our perception, or what's going on in our internal state, and where we are at with that. It would be fair to say that we are not just being impacted by just looking at our screens. There are things, sounds, frequencies that are being used electrically that would impact us also, right? And everything is impacting us, whether we can see it or not. And we have to, the more we kind of lean into our Neptune state, the astral state, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through yoga, anything that can deconstruct the ego, whenever that may be, would allow you to access this thing called the imagination. And the more you explore that, because you think imagination, you think of kids, right? And I think that could even be the trick, right? That you don't go into that part of yourself. But that's the most important thing. And it's not just exclusive to children. And once you are able to be whimsical in that sense, or maybe even exploring the inner child, because I think the inner child is the astral, is Neptune. Things get a little bit more fun, as I like to say. And I alluded these contamination, these unwanted frequencies, these hijacking of sorts, as the digital pirates. Pirates, as we know, they're not for or against anybody. Okay, maybe some of them might be, I don't know. But ultimately, they are, yeah, I've got this. How much do you want it for? Right? I don't know. Maybe they could be your third parties. Okay, because who are these people? Who are these third parties? So these digital pirates they no longer go on stream across the ocean and the seven seas. They've now evolved and gone into data collection and hijacking and cyber attacking, and that stream of consciousness is now I guess gold to these digital pirates, whoever they may be. I don't know. I don't know who the pirates are, but they have ascended, ladies and gentlemen. And I wanted to allude to this idea that there's nothing inherently wrong about data or technology, because technology has always been around. It's just now it's how it's been used. I allude to Aleister Crowley because he has this phrase of "do what thou wilt." And even sometimes when I'm reading on some of these occultic practices or witchcraft or all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, but if this gets into the wrong hands, it's not do what thou wilt. It's just not, you know? And I think there are some people who would see it in the same way. It's like much of it, like I used Aleister Crowley because I guess he made astrology more hip, and it was still kind of like kept towards like certain demographics, and he was like, no, I do what I wilt. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. You get one. You get one. You get one. And so now we have this Western astrology, which has helped a lot of us understand where we are at when it comes to the timing of our birth and what we've come here to do. But much like what I'm seeing, even just in general, when we're looking at history, there is this understanding that is to always, everything has to be divisive. No, you should be doing it this way. No, like this. No, like this. And it's like, when we're looking at information, it can be conflicting. And it's, again, going to the Neptune state and saying, how does that feel to me? Not, has it been indoctrinated in me? How does it feel? Does it feel okay? Let me give it a week. Let me see how I still feel by the end of the week. Okay, maybe I have a different change of thought. This is a much softer way of doing what thou wilt, right? Is being able to do what thou wilt within yourself, but not being so structured, so Saturnian, and saying, okay, I've been taught this since I was young, and now I can't depart from it. It's like, no, like there is something else that you can challenge, but, you know, keep it soft, keep it cutesy, you know? And so this stream, the digital stream, whether it's yours, the stream could be algorithms, the stream could be collecting data. These technological devices are getting so smart. They know your favorite foods. They know your favorite song. They say, okay, you're going to start scrolling. Okay, all right. we guess that you like this because we heard you talking about this the other day to your friend, and we guess that you like this, and then we might put this ad in and we do that. Like, it's become so sophisticated, and all it wants to do is trying to give you the information you need. And you think, okay, so how can this be warped? How can technology be corrupted so that our astral mind or our subconscious mind is in a way being pressed upon? We can't take out the reality that it, and I said it in my Pluto 101, if you're not using your higher state of mind, someone else is going to use it. You've abandoned it. And I'm not saying you, ladies and gentlemen, because if you're on this page, you definitely haven't abandoned it, but just flow with me. So we need to be in that Neptune state. We need to be in the higher thinking. But there's a process. There are processes. And so there's that. There was a story, and I was questioning whether I should go into this part or not. But it's very Neptunian, about the consciousness and about those who hold information that not everybody knows about. But you can connect the dots, right? People will tell stories. This is why I love stories. This is why I love folklore, fairy tales, all this stuff, because they're telling you everything. And they're saying, oh, it's for children. Oh, your imagination is a childish thing. That's the trick. So there was this guy turned pastor. His name's APJ Nkowalya. He's a Ugandan man. And he speaks about, again, I do this for research purposes, nothing more. And he touches on a lot of things about his journey towards going back to Christianity. But he says something, he goes, witchcraft can be the occult, but the occult cannot always be witchcraft. And this understanding is, basically witchcraft is something completely different. And there's different, it's like witchcraft is witch. There are different ones, right? And again, with this idea of do what thy will, is there are people that decide they want to do things in their own way, have their own agenda, and it might conflict with somebody else's. The issue with a lot of that, and which is why the Saturnian energy is necessary, is you need structure. It's not everybody and anybody that should be. You just don't know where people's minds are. I hope, I always hope, when you're listening to my videos, you're going away and you're in peace and you're reflecting. But I can't think for every single mind. And that's the scary part, right? There's someone out there who's trying to understand everybody's brains at every single time. And they're using it through algorithm data and all these things. Like they're afraid of something. Now, maybe there's something they know that we don't. I don't know. But it cannot be purely about money at this point. Like, it really cannot. So where we have this understanding where he wanted to distribute or make it more popularized, it did a few things, with astrology. It was like, oh, this is some flighty, corner of the magazine, pop astrology. And that, I think that element will always be there. But again, especially with my channel, it's talking about from a spiritual level and it's talking from an astral level. I think I said it in my Pisces 101, is it's not just a dream. Your dreams are connecting you. If there are certain people in your dreams, they're connecting you. What are their star signs? What do they represent in your life? This is where it gets fun. This is where you start exploring yourself more than just when you're awake, but what you're doing when you're sleeping. And so, anyway, this pastor guy, he was saying that he was told in part of his witchcraft group, he was like, hey, I think it was either 1995 and it was going into 1996. And he was saying that the message was, I think probably it was a prophecy on the darker side. Hey, there's a church that is praying, or they're going to do a covenant prayer, and they're going to pray and fast for, I believe it was like a month or maybe even 2 months. And they said, if they complete this prayer, we will not be able to do any more magic on this part of Uganda. So you need to make sure that you destroy whatever's going on over there. And when I was watching this, I said, ooh, let's get the popcorn. What? So I said, oh, is this to suggest that there is a power in collective consciousness? Of course. I mean, you know, I think you can find it on YouTube. It's like 3 hours long. So get your notes out, get your notebook out, and see where that lands you. But it was fascinating. It was fascinating to know how when you are strengthened in yourself. So imagine when you are going into your Neptunian state, in your Neptunian state of mind, whatever, I don't know, whether it's digital attacks, whether it's spiritual, however you elude challenges, right? And how you can rise above them. Essentially, that church is raising their frequency to a point that they can't be infiltrated. And that was for the opposition, right? They did not like that. They said, no. I think the rule was if they actually do that, if they pray for the next 2 to 3 months, they won't be able to touch them for like 7 years. So then that also suggests where you manifest or where you pray, there are timescales, and depending on the gravity or the seriousness of which that prayer is put in, depends on how long you can have that covering or that covenant for. It's given HR, ladies and gentlemen. It's given admin. Kind of, maybe we could kind of see it that way, you know? So there's that. And let me know what you think. Let me know how if you watch the video, I would love to know what you think about his story. It was very deep, I have to say. Low-key, I still think he's doing witchcraft. But the story, it was intense. I liked it. And it gave you some nuggets as to how things work, and prophecies are on both sides. And even when I'm reading African folklore, they're saying the same thing. Like, prophecy is just prophecy. So whoever can get the message, both sides can get the message, you know? It's what you do, what their actions are afterwards. So I say that to say, find a way to enhance your Neptunian self. Find a way to explore that area, because it cannot be vacant. It is to your best interest that it's not vacant. And I saw, because I wrote having the porous mind, or having a porous mind, or a leaky mind, or, you know, your mind is a bit of a SpongeBob SquarePants. Okay, it's not holding in information. And it would be fair to say that people across time have been exploring how the mind works, how the eyeballs work, how the brain works. So you know, maybe there are some pirates saying, wow, I can sell this information to somebody who wants it. So who knows what could be happening, or what fractions of light. And I speak of fractions of light because the sigil of Lucifer, or Venus, or Aphrodite, or the 5-pointed star is, hopefully you can see that. Yeah. Okay. Is about your eyes, right? It's about what you can see. I've done a top view plan. I was like, I was like, I know I've seen this somewhere. I know I can find it, right? So this is like the brain. And these are the eyeballs, right? This is like if the head was sliced open, like a cup. Gory. And this is how you are, your eyes see, right? So your left eye and your right eye almost kind of come together to make the whole object make sense. And you can kind of tell when you cover one eye, it sees one perspective, and you cover the other, it sees another perspective, but it manages to do something really fascinating when both of your eyes are open. And, you know, people, we're out here just living our life, yeah? There's people out here working this out, okay? They're working out, yes, we must do diagrams and... and again, this data can be useful for just for us to learn about ourselves, but somebody else might be like, how can I use this to my pirates? Where are you? So, and it looks like the sigil of Lucifer, right? When we look at the motion of light on the object, it looks like the sigil of Lucifer. And so I guess in the Masonic way, I know probably the Masonic kids are going to come on and tell me, yeah. Come in the comments. Look, I feel like what we have here is more like Lucifer is the light bearer, it's the light bringer. When we speak of light, it reminded me of the prism of what we learned in school, where you have the white light that comes in and refracts, and then it has the array of colors from red to violet. And in between those lights, we can understand those lights. When we close our eyes, we still have light. I don't know what percentage that light is, but the light still comes through. But the light is very important to the astral realm. Very important. So play and see how that's working with your internal. But Neptune is about, we could say this is water, right? This is the water. This is, I guess, Neptune. This is you. And how, what angle of light are you at? Are you seeing things exactly for what they are? Have a look at my Mercury 101 video, where it talks about Mercury retrogrades and illusions, and the autostereograph, which the autostereograph is a fascinating like optic illusion that again, it talks about the left and the right eye and how you can play with that to then even have to see the layers beyond what is initially seen. So when you initially see it, it's all like dots or just a series of patterns. But when you go closer to it and you slowly pull your eyes back, you see another pattern underneath there, which again, it's more like a trick on the eye. But the fact that humankind has learned how the eye works, that they can make, I don't know, what was it called? Magic eye images to play with the idea. But then you think of it like the pirate comes in again. How can we use this? Who wants to buy this for deeper reasons? You know? What other things are we looking at? Are we scrolling through that have other things that we can't actually see? You know, this refraction of light. What areas is happening here? And even in some ways, there's some colors that we can't see, but there's also maybe this is the light version of the understanding of this of the prism and light coming through. Maybe there's other light frequencies that don't even come onto the plane of the 369, but actually on the 468 of the astral, which is where everybody needs to be at. Actually, the 369 is astrology. This is the 369. When we start going in the 468, we turn it into 3D, and we turn it into action, and we turn it into purpose. So I don't know, there's some other things I could have discussed here. But I'm good for time, y'all. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we've definitely worked through. Look at them on a whole. Uranus governs flow in terms of circuits, data. Neptune's is permeability, dreams, invisible currents. How can you make your mind less porous? How can you be aware of what you're doing in terms of what your eyes, what refraction of light is coming through your eyes, and how that is being transposed into your mind? And how much are you aware of that, of what's happening? Because I think when you're aware of it, it kind of demystifies everything. You know, it kind of just puts Saturn in the deep end. Okay, like, wait, hold on, what? No. So that's Neptune 101. Take care.